Hey, it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we share knowledge and tools for you to create your ultimate life. Have you ever heard of the term sacred activism? It was coined by British author and religious scholar Andrew Harvey. And the definition of sacred activism is the coming together of spirituality and activism. It's activism that comes from the heart, activism that's compassionate, kind, and positive. It can be fierce, but it's not about being against something. It's about being for something. And it's embodied by this quote from Mother Teresa, who, when asked why she wouldn't attend an anti-war rally, she said, "When you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there." So sacred activism is a way to channel our desire to make a difference in the world in a way that's kind and creates solutions and doesn't create more problems. So where do we start when we feel helpless, like nothing makes sense in our world anymore? Well, sacred activism is having a passion for justice, not just talking to our friends about how bad things are, but taking action, doing something, or as they say, putting your money where your mouth is. When we do that, we not only help the cause, but we experience a rebirth in our own souls. When we feel like we really make a difference in the world instead of just talking about making a difference, when we put our heads down on our pillows for our final breath, we'll be at peace, knowing that we lived a life worth living. And many are waking up to the fact that injustice and racism and um, cultural or lifestyle intolerance or killing of the innocents, or even situations like climate change that we're witnessing daily, or inhumane immigration policies, or blatantly lying to undermine democracy, are not just going to go away if we complain to our friends or shout at the TV. What gives me hope right now is that so many people are waking up. Have you noticed that? And wanting to make a difference. And there's strength in numbers. And when we are all in it, okay, we all are in this ship together. We got to know that. And if it goes down, we're all going down. But if we do our part and we lift it up, we're all going to be lifted. Remember the words of cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So would you like to be a part of that small group? If your answer is yes, what I recommend is to simply do something every day. Stop talking and start doing. Stop being depressed and scared about what's going on and say to yourself, snap out of it. Wake up. The world needs you. The world needs your contribution. Do something. And you have to start somewhere other than cringing at the news and feeling helpless and talking to your friends about how helpless you feel. The great teacher Byron Katie says there is no access to transformation inside of that type of conversation. Just find a way to use your God-given talents. Do you love children? Volunteer at an after-school program where you can help kids with their homework. There are kids whose parents have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table, and these kids need you. I'll share a story, not so that you think I'm some kind of Mother Teresa, but years ago, we had a young man living with us. He was a kid. He wasn't even a young man yet. And my kids and I were helping him study for his Constitution test. He was in 8th grade, so he must have been 13 or maybe 14. And we're helping him study, and he gets all teared up. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I asked him if we were pushing him too hard. And he said, "No, I'm just too happy. I'm just so happy because this is the first time anyone has ever helped me with my homework." 13 or 14. And you know how many kids there are there like him? Hey, are you a visual artist? Find a way to help kids who are survivors of abuse express their emotions through art. You feel the agony when you hear about a young man of color being incarcerated for years for being falsely accused of stealing a backpack. Become a big brother or sister, form a relationship with one of these kids, and then be their advocate when there is no one else to advocate for them, so that tragedies like what happened to a kid who did just that, Khalif Broders, never has to happen again to anyone. Look him up. If he had someone to advocate for him, he'd be alive today. or volunteer to take kids to an amusement park or a zoo or the planetarium, or teach them yoga or breathing or how to express themselves through acting or improv. I know people who have done all of the above. Whatever is your passion, help these kids, use it for good. Do you care about the planet? You can also engage in sacred activism by just stopping excessive consumption. Make a smaller footprint, ride a bike. For 1 year in 2015, turn off the lights, don't run so much water. I remember in 2015, every time I had the impulse to purchase something I really didn't need, like yet another cute shirt or a $5 cup of fancy coffee, I stopped, asked myself if I really needed that. And I took the money that I was about to spend and I put it in a fund. It was the whole year of 2015. And at the end of the year, I donated over $3,000 to charity. And I did not miss even one of those things that I didn't buy. Are you feeling the pain of the conflict in Israel and Gaza? Well, I'm part of a prayer intentioning chanting group that meets every night. I also meet with Lynn McTaggart, who has had measurable results in lessening the conflicts in war-torn areas through her intention experiment. She's been doing it for 15 years by gathering large groups of people and intending for peace. And there are many nonprofits that are nonpartisan. They don't take sides, like Doctors Without Borders. Even CNN has a fund where they carefully vet organizations that help victims on both sides of the conflict. And as you've heard me say before, and I'll say it again, when you take action, you not only help the people, but you also help yourself. You feel good about yourself. You feel happier. That isn't why we do good deeds, but there's nothing that will pull you out of depression and feelings of hopelessness that many people are feeling right now than contribution. In the Torah, which contains the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, it says that the most powerful prayers are those we pray for others. I was going to say for ourselves. No, the most powerful prayers are those we pray for others. When you contribute, it's been scientifically proven that it increases your oxytocin, the feel-good hormone. You volunteer, you do a random act of kindness, you join a prayer circle, you bring hot meals to people living in tents in the middle of the city where you live in winter, or even donate to a charity. Just write a check or donate online. It makes you happier. It increases your sense of self-love, your sense of well-being. In fact, there was a study done at the National Institutes of Health that showed that not only did doing charitable acts or random acts of kindness increase people's oxytocin, but it decreased their cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And lowering your cortisol has also been scientifically linked to not only reducing symptoms of stress and depression, but better sleep, decreased heart disease, symptoms of diabetes, and so much more. And when you feel good about yourself, that joy radiates. We're vibrational beings and attitudes are contagious. Your joy makes your attitude worth catching, and you inspire others, and then they inspire others, and they inspire others, and the ripple effect never ends. And I know some of you are wanting to do something bigger, maybe even go down in history like Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Amanda Gorman, Susan B. Anthony. Hey, I don't know, not everybody could be on the cover of Time magazine, but think of something big you can do, and you just might. I love Susan B. Anthony. She's one of my heroines. You know the whole story about her? She was born in 1820 into a family of Quakers, although she left the Quaker church because of its restrictive lifestyle. But when she was only 17, she collected anti-slavery petitions. And then at the age of 28, she started to organize around equal pay for women, equal pay for equal work for women. We're talking about 1848, almost 200 years ago. She's organizing for equal pay for equal work for women. And from there, devoted her entire life to sacred activism. And in 1872, she was arrested for voting and convicted at trial, and she refused to pay the fine. Nonviolently, she stayed in jail. And then in 1878, a senator from California presented an amendment giving the women the right to vote, known as the Susan B. Anthony Amendment, but it wasn't ratified. for another 42 years in 1920. Some of us, our parents were alive then. 14 years after her death, women got the right to vote, and it became the 19th Amendment. Isn't that amazing? I know we'd like to do something really impactful, be Rosa Parks and Malala, but not everybody was born to go down in history, but maybe you were. But it doesn't matter, because in the Talmud, which is the central text of Judaism, it says, whoever destroys a single life is considered to have destroyed the whole world. And whoever saves a single life is considered to have saved the whole world. So start with a single life. But one thing you can't do if you want to go down in the history books is sit and watch soap operas all day and drink Diet Coke and play it safe. You know, my favorite quote from Susan B. Anthony goes like this. You have it here. Cautious, careful people, always casting about to preserve their reputation and social standings, can never bring about reform. Those who are really in earnest must be willing to be anything or nothing in the world's estimation, and publicly and privately, in season and out, avow their sympathy with despised and persecuted ideas and their advocates, and bear the consequences. So sacred activism that comes from the heart, activism that is kind and compassionate and positive, activism that's not about being against something, but being for something. But it's activism, not passivism. So what are you going to do today?